You're standing in the cereal aisle. Fluorescent light hums above you. Your mom's hand is on the cart, moving fast, but your eyes catch a yellow package low on the shelf, right at kid height. Sugar dust on your fingers a minute later. Crumbs in the car seat. Gone before you finish chewing, already wanting another one. That smell. Toasted. Sweet. Faintly like cardboard. Oddly close to Christmas morning even in July. Nobody warned you this was temporary. Who warns a child about that? A cookie isn't supposed to be the kind of thing you mourn. But here we are. Some of these brands didn't fade slowly. They vanished overnight, pulled from shelves with no goodbye, no announcement, nothing. One day they were just not there. And here's the strange part. Most companies never explained. So let's say it plain. An entire shelf of American childhood got quietly erased. Today we're counting down 20 cookies every kid in this country grew up loving, before they disappeared. One by one, sometimes for reasons that still don't add up. Here's the part that'll get under your skin. A few of these weren't discontinued because nobody bought them. Some were pulled while sales were still strong, while warehouses were still full, while kids were still begging their parents for one more box. That's not a business decision. That's something closer to a decision made for you, without you, by people in a boardroom who never tasted what they were taking away. Keep that in your head as we go. Some of these endings aren't sad. They're suspicious. Number 20. Wagon wheels. 2-gram cookies. A slab of marshmallow in between. A shell of chocolate holding it all together like it was trying to keep a secret safe. You'd unwrap one in the back seat and the chocolate would already be soft from the heat sticking to the foil. And you'd lick the wrapper clean rather than waste a single bit. Gas station counters kept them in a wire rack near the register, right where a kid could grab one while a parent paid for gas, and that grab felt like a small, secret victory every single time. They were never fancy. They were just yours. When the recipe quietly shrank, then vanished from most shelves, nobody issued a statement. It just got smaller and smaller until it wasn't there at all. Some things don't get a funeral. They just get forgotten by everyone except you. Number 19. Burry's Scooter Pies. If you grew up in the Northeast, this name still means something. A soft cookie, a puff of marshmallow, dipped in chocolate that cracked when you bit it just right, leaving a clean half-moon mark where your teeth had been. Kids traded these at lunch like currency, swapped them for fruit snacks, fought over the last one in the box, sometimes splitting one down the middle just so nobody walked away with nothing. That's what made them matter. Not the taste alone, but what they meant when you were the kid who had one to share. When the company folded, it wasn't just a snack that disappeared. It was a whole unspoken language between kids who knew exactly what a scooter pie was worth at the lunch table and kids who didn't. Number 18. Sunshine Hydrox. Here's the part most people get backwards. This cookie came first, by 4 years, decades before the one everyone assumes invented it. A chocolate wafer, a sweet cream center, simple, honest, exactly what it looked like, with a snap when you broke it instead of a soft give. Parents trusted the name because Sunshine had been on shelves for decades, steady and familiar, the kind of brand you didn't think twice about tossing in the cart. Then the company that came after it, the one that copied the format, simply outlasted it. The original got quietly written out of the story, even though it came first. You trusted the name on the box. The name just didn't survive to keep that trust. Number 17. Carnation. Quick cookies. Soft, almost cake-like, built off the same powder you stirred into milk after school. The spoon clinking against the glass while cartoons played in the next room. They tasted like the inside of your kitchen on a weekday afternoon, like homework not yet started, like a snack handed to you before anyone asked how your day was, quietly folded into a bigger product line, rebranded, renamed, reformulated until the thing you remembered wasn't really sold anymore, just something wearing its old name. You don't get an explanation for that. You just get a box that looks almost right and tastes like almost nothing. Number 16. Stella d'Oro Anginetti. Lemon glaze. A soft, cakey middle. The kind of cookie your grandmother kept in a tin on top of the fridge. The lid always a little stuck. The smell of lemon hitting you before the lid was even fully off. The Stella d'Oro factory in the Bronx ran for decades, and when it finally closed, workers who'd been there 20, 30 years lost their jobs in one announcement after a labor dispute that went on for months while the neighborhood watched. The cookies got picked up by another company eventually, made somewhere else, by someone else's hands. It still says Stella d'Oro on the box. It is not the same thing. You can taste when something used to mean more than it does now. Number 15. Keebler Magic Middles. Shortbread on the outside, a pocket of chocolate fudge hiding in the center, the kind of cookie that made you check every single one before eating it, holding it up to the light just to see how much was inside. Kids would trade pieces of their lunch for one of these, would save the box for after dinner instead of eating it all at once. That kind of self-control for a kid was rare. These cookies earned it. When they disappeared, it wasn't really about the cookie, it was about losing one of the only things that made waiting feel worth it. Number 14. Nabisco Pinwheels. Marshmallow domed over a graham base drenched in chocolate, a cookie that required 2 hands and a napkin and total commitment, the kind you couldn't eat quietly even if you tried. You trusted that the marshmallow would be soft every single time because it always was. That kind of reliability mattered more than people admit. A kid's whole world runs on things staying the same, on the cookie tasting exactly like it did the last time and the time before that. When the formula started shifting, the marshmallow got firmer, less generous, and something in your gut noticed before your brain could explain why. The trust broke quietly, cookie by cookie, long before the product actually left shelves. Number 13. Sunshine Sprinkle Cookies. Bright pastel sprinkles pressed into soft sugar dough, sold mostly around birthdays and holidays. The kind of cookie that showed up at school parties because someone's mom grabbed the box that looked the most fun off the shelf. They weren't gourmet, they weren't trying to be. They were colorful and cheap and exactly what a 6-year-old wanted in a lunchbox. When Sunshine Biscuits got absorbed into a larger company, dozens of smaller products like this one got cut without ceremony, treated as inventory rather than as somebody's favorite thing. Nobody asked the 6-year-olds what they thought. Number 12. Archway Date-Filled Oatmeal Cookies. Soft, chewy, a thick stripe of date filling running through the center. The kind of cookie that sat in a grandparent's kitchen next to a percolator and a crossword puzzle, always within reach of a coffee cup. When Archway filed for bankruptcy in 2008, it happened fast. Locks changed on a Friday with almost no warning, and the plant closure left longtime employees finding out their jobs were gone before most customers even knew the company was struggling. The cookies came back eventually under new ownership. The bakery that made them, and the town that depended on it, didn't come back the same way. Number 11. Mr. Salty Pretzel Cookies. A strange little hybrid, sweet and salty before that was a trend anyone talked about. Sold by Nabisco mostly through the 70s and 80s. You'd find them in the same aisle as the regular cookies, slightly out of place, slightly ahead of their time. The box itself looking a little unsure of what shelf it belonged on. Kids who liked them really liked them, defended them against friends who thought the combination was odd. Being the kid who loved the weird cookie, the one nobody else picked, that was its own small identity. When it disappeared, that tiny, strange loyalty had nowhere left to go. That's 11 down, 9 to go. And if even one of these just hit you in a place you forgot you had, drop the number in the comments right now before you forget which one it was. Let's keep going. Number 10. Frookie Cookies. Marketed in the late 80s as the better-for-you option. Sweetened with fruit juice instead of refined sugar, sold to parents who wanted to feel good about what they packed in a lunchbox without a fight at the breakfast table. Kids didn't care about any of that. Kids cared that they tasted fine and came in a box with a cartoon on it. The company stretched itself thin, trying to expand too fast, opening new lines before the first one had even settled. And when it collapsed, an entire shelf of healthier snack options disappeared with it, taking a small piece of every parent's good intentions along. Number 9. Nabisco Cameo Creme Sandwich Cookies. A scalloped pink-edged cookie with a vanilla creme center, sold for decades without much fanfare, just steadily there, year after year. The reliable middle child of the cookie aisle, never the one anyone fought over but always the one someone grabbed anyway. It never got a relaunch campaign. It never got a tearful goodbye post. It simply stopped getting reordered one fiscal year, and that was that. Some things don't disappear with a bang. They disappear because somebody, somewhere, decided they weren't worth the shelf space anymore, and nobody fought for them. Number 8. Sunshine Cinnamon Graham Crackers, sold and loved as a cookie in their own right by an entire generation of kids who broke them into squares and ate them with milk poured right over the top in a bowl. the way some kids ate cereal. That habit, that specific ritual, belonged to a whole era of after-school routines. Kitchen table, homework still in the backpack, the bowl emptied before anyone called you for dinner. When the cinnamon formula changed and the brand eventually folded into a competitor's lineup, the new version came close but never quite matched it. You can replace an ingredient list. You cannot replace the exact way a kid remembers a Tuesday afternoon. Number 7. Drake's Funny Bones, technically a cake but treated like a cookie by every kid who unwrapped one at lunch. Peanut butter cream packed inside a chocolate shell shaped like nothing else on the shelf, with that one ridge down the middle every kid used as a guide for the first bite. When Hostess Brands went bankrupt in 2012, dozens of beloved snacks went dark overnight, and the shelves that once held them sat empty for months, just bare metal where a familiar wrapper used to be. Some products came back under new ownership later. Funny Bones mostly didn't, and an entire generation found out, all at once on the same week, that the snack of their childhood was simply gone. Number 6. Vanilla Wafer Sandwich Cookies, a short-lived spin-off where 2 vanilla wafers held a layer of cream in between, sold for a handful of years before quietly vanishing back into the regular lineup like it had never been its own thing at all. Parents trusted the Nabisco name enough to grab it without thinking twice, the way you trust a brand that's never let you down before. That trust is exactly why nobody questioned where it went. A name you trust can disappear a product without anyone demanding an explanation, because the brand itself was never in doubt, only the cookie was. Number 5. Sandy's Original Recipe, before the formula was quietly adjusted to cut costs, back when the pecan pieces were generous, and the shortbread was dense enough to leave crumbs on your shirt for the rest of the day, no matter how careful you were. Longtime buyers noticed the shift in texture before any headline ever confirmed a recipe change, the way regulars notice when a diner switches suppliers without telling anyone. Same dish, slightly wrong. Nobody at the company called it a downgrade. They called it an update. The people who'd been eating them for 30 years called it something else entirely, and were mostly told they were imagining things. Number 4. Nabisco Family Favorites. Almost home cookies, soft-baked before soft-baked was the whole industry's strategy. Sold through the 80s with a name that promised exactly the comfort it delivered. Still warm-tasting even straight out of a cold package. Here's the part that still feels unfair. Internal shifts at Nabisco quietly buried this entire soft-baked line right as the format started taking off everywhere else, and competitors absorbed the idea and ran with it for decades after, building entire brands on the exact thing Nabisco walked away from first. The company that pioneered the comfort got none of the credit, and most kids who grew up on the original never knew the brand that copied it actually came second. Somebody made the right call too early, and the only people who paid for it were the ones who loved it. Number 3. Sunshine Vanilla Wafers. The original soft yellow box that sat in pantries for generations before Sunshine got folded into Keebler, and the recipe shifted just enough that longtime buyers noticed without being able to name exactly what changed. This wasn't a cookie that vanished all at once. It got slowly replaced by something wearing its name, a little crisper, a little less yellow, a little less like the one your grandmother layered into banana pudding on a Sunday after church, the bowl going around the table while the wafers softened just right. Nobody announced the swap. They just let the old memory fade out while the new box stayed on the same shelf in the same spot like nothing had happened at all, like an entire generation wasn't quietly being asked to forget. Number 2. Nabisco Oreo Big Stuf. An oversized single Oreo, roughly the size of your whole palm, sold briefly in the 80s as the kind of treat you begged for at the gas station counter and rarely got, because it cost more than a regular pack and your parents knew it. Kids who had one remember exactly where they were standing when they ate it. Remember splitting it with a sibling because one was somehow enough for 2 people. Remember guarding the last bite like it mattered more than it should have. It disappeared almost as fast as it arrived, pulled for reasons the company never fully explained, leaving behind a cookie so specific and so brief that some people who remember it have spent actual years insisting it was real, arguing with people who swear it never existed at all, just to be believed about something this small. Number 1. Setting aside everything else, this is the one that hurts the most for a different reason. The original Chips Ahoy chunk recipe. Thick cut, almost underbaked in the center. Sold before the formula was reworked into the thinner, crisper, mass-produced version sitting on shelves today. This wasn't a small regional brand that quietly faded somewhere nobody was watching. This was the cookie. The one everyone had. In every lunchbox. In every cookie jar. The default answer when somebody asked what kind you wanted. And even that, the biggest name in the entire aisle, got changed without your permission. Without a vote, without anyone asking the millions of kids who grew up on the original if the new version was actually an improvement or just cheaper to make. If the biggest cookie in America can be quietly rewritten and nobody stops it, nothing on this list ever really stood a chance. There's one more thing worth knowing, something that connects almost every name on this list, and it isn't really about cookies at all. It's about what happens to the small companies that get bought by the big ones, the ones that quietly disappear into a logo nobody questions. We're saving that story for next week. For now, just tell us this. Which one of these 20 did you forget you missed until just now? Type the number in the comments. Nothing else, just the number. That comment section is basically a time capsule at this point, and we read every single one of them. This is what we do at Lostways America. Every week we go back. So the things worth remembering don't quietly disappear the way these cookies did. If this brought back something you hadn't thought about in years, hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's list. And if you want more people to stumble onto this video the way you just did, tap like. That's genuinely the only thing that gets a video like this in front of someone else out there who needs to remember too.